It's a great delight to welcome you to another fresh edition of your News and Current Affairs Ultimate Show, Politics Today, that comes live simultaneously on independent television and radio. And basically, we treat issues concerning the polity in order to expand participation in looking at ways to deepen democracy. Of course, some would call it to deepen the dividends of good governance, and looking at ways in which the laws can be properly positioned in order to serve their citizenry. And on today's discussion, we'll be looking at two topics, and the first will be on the 2023 presidential poll, and we're looking at the power rotation factor. And also we'll be looking at the medical tourism bill, and looking at ways in which that can also be given respite to in terms of the prescribing of a jail term for public officers. And you agree with me, there's been this issue running even before the National Assembly concerning this, and medical tourism, the aspect where it needs to be nipped in the bud for those who use public money, taxpayers and money, to travel abroad. They should be sanctioned. And this has been an act, but this amendment bill is coming, and it was introduced by the honorable member of the House of Representatives, Sergius Ogun. And we are looking at this in a thread of conversation. And in the course of this show, we expect that you also turn in your responses via messages, also via calls. And we're going to be giving you a dedicated line that you will be pouring your calls at us. I'm the host on this show, Philip Omo Gyupo. I have an array of distinguished guests that are seen as advocates of good governance and the need to look at ways in which to make a progress in this, basically formed the crux for which they are here today. From my immediate left, I have a legal practitioner in Northern Republic of Nigeria, was PRO, NBA Benin branch, and also former NEC, a member of the NBA, and he was also former legal advisor to the NBA Benin branch, and he is Okifo Eboseli. Thanks for joining me, Eboseli Okifo.
Thank you, Philip. Good morning, viewers at home and listeners.
And next to him is another erudite and articulate legal practitioner, and he was a member of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry set up a few months back over the NSAS saga. And he is A.B. Thomas. Thanks for joining me, A.B. Thomas.
Thank you very much. Good morning to viewers at home.
And also next, I have an educationist, a public affairs analyst, a social media influencer, and he is the president of the AFED, that is the Association for Formidable Education and Development, Edo State Chapter, and executive director of African Emancipation Movement. Osaige Godsent Erunse, thanks for coming.
Good morning, Phil. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning, viewers.
Well, with this long list, we'll start on the discussion today, and don't forget the rules as you participate on show in the course of this. We ensure that you make sure that you stay with the tenets of broadcasting. That is to say that anything that has to do with wrong words, use of language will not be allowed in the course of this program. And of course, the opinions made on this show are opinions of the makers and not that of independent television and radio. Well, a quick look at the 2023 presidential race. We're inching closely to it, and the need to really find a lasting solution to the problems bedeviling the country has made a lot of people to participate more in governance. And basically looking at the flourishing argument between the Southern Governors Forum and of course the Northern Group Arewa Consultative Forum over the power rotation factor, there's been a lot of reactions elicited from the public, and I want to get your viewpoint in this regard, because even the chairman of the forum, of the Southern Governors Forum, Rotimi Akeredolu, and Governor of Ondo State did say that any political party that feeds Northern as their candidate for the presidential race are bound to lose in election. What do you make of this, Ebosele Okifo?
Well, I think fair is fair. For him to have made that statement is because he knows that the politicians from the northern part of the country, they have been in the head of the administration of this country for so long now. And somebody like the city president now, by the end of next year, would have spent 8 years as the president of Nigeria. Ordinarily, he ought to come to the south. I'm sure that's why Akeredolu made that statement, that it would be unfair on the southern Nigeria for the power to still remain in the north, that any party that now fits a northern candidate, of course, the party is supposed to fail. But you know it doesn't always work like that, because agitators from the north are saying that they have the numbers. They feel that they have the majority, they have the numbers. So if they have the numbers, the difference is that the majority carries the vote, the majority wins. That since they have the number, we should not expect that power will just come back to us, because it's by voting, and it's going to be determined on a popular vote who gets the highest number of votes. And we know during election, we know the kind of figures that they turn out from Kano, Sokoto, and all that. You know, you get to a stage where a state is bringing out 1 million votes. And out of the 1 million votes, there's no one that has a problem. There's no invalid vote. You know, these are people ordinarily, when you look at their educational background, they are the ones from educationally disadvantaged states. And here, in the southern part of the country where we know that we are so much interested in education, and we go to school a lot and all that, and we'll have lots of thousands of void votes and all that, but you don't have it in the north. So what is the secret? How are they doing it there? At the end of the day, they start using card readers in the south, and you don't see them using it in the north, and at the end of the day, they bring out outrageous figures. They bring out outrageous figures, and you don't have it in the south. So on the basis of that, you see that agitators from the north are saying, those ones that are in the north, they are saying, yes, they have the numbers. Why should we now say the power must return to the south? But fair is fair. And when we want to be fair, since you have had it for so long, you have had it for 8 years, of course, it should move to the other zone of the country. It's just like what we have in Edo State here now. It's like what we have in Edo State here now. The Edo South, they have had it for so long. Edo North, they have also had it. People are not saying the governorship race, the person that should be the next governor of Edo State should come from Edo Central. You understand? So fair is only fair. And I'm sure that was why Akeredolu made that statement. I will not blame him for that. I'm fully in support of that, that both political parties should bring out certain candidates. And I will say that the candidates should even come from the southeast. What has the southeast, what have they done to us? The Civil War has been fought, it has been won since 1970. So why would we not allow them to also produce a president? We should allow them to produce a president. So I'm even thinking that we should take the narration further by ensuring that the two political parties should bring external candidates.
Why are you restricting it to the two political parties?
Yes, because of course we all know that the APC and the PDP, they are the ones that have the structure. Which other party has the structure? Which other party has structures that you go to every hamlet, you go to any village, you go to anywhere in the country where you have other parties like that? They are the ones that have the structure. Of course, they have the structure to win election. Any other new party that is coming now, it will be very difficult. We all know that. Let's not deceive ourselves. You understand? So I feel that the eastern part of this country, the East, should produce the president. The two parties, if they want to be fair to Nigerians, they should even feed candidates from the East. That's the way I look at it. So the North should relax their position and allow a president to come from the South or from the East.
Under a democratic setting that we are really building on, is it right for this to be a strategy for winning elections? Ebi Thomas.
You are saying under the democracy that you are practicing. I will ask you, the answer to your question is, under the democracy we are having now, is it fair for Buhari to have 90% of his inner caucus or ministers from one section of the country? If it is not fair, then what is convenient becomes fair. And if you will allow me, I will take you through the historical line. Nigeria, you call today, became independent in 1960. So by October this year, this entity called Nigeria will be 62 years. 62 years old. I'm older than Nigeria. And you will find that as at this year, Southerners have governed this country for 16 years out of 62 years. So any person who is rational, who wants to be fair, will think, if we are the same, the country is 62 years old, Southerners have ruled for 16, how fair is that? If you call it democracy. Now, you may ask, you may want to know how did I get my figure. Obasanjo as military president ruled for 3 years. He came as a civilian, ruled for 8 years. That's 11.
Yes.
Yeah, good luck.
Jonathan came for 5 years. That is 16.
16 years.
Out of 62 years. Is that fair? So Akeredolu was right. Then let me take you to a second point. My friend here, my left friend, is canvassing for the Igbos. Of course, it's rational. That is fair. Why would I say so? Because they knew MK Abiola won election. And they again are not the election. And when this democracy was coming in 1999, by 1998, they sat down, a group of people, just like a group of 2 or 3 people came down, sat down, and wrote your 1999 constitution for you. That was what they did in 1998. And what did they do? They sat down in Abuja, in one room, and said, since the Yorubas have formed NADECO, and there's no peace in Nigeria, the major parties in Nigeria at that time were PDP, NPP, and AD. Action for Democracy.
Yes.
They sat down and told people like Ogunaya Onu, who is from the east, who is a minister, and who was the leader of NPP, to team up with AD and produce Olufalaye from the west. Then they told PDP, you will produce somebody from Abeokuta, my hometown, where MK Abiola was also from. It was issue of convenience. When you talk of democracy has been in Myanmar for a long time. What has happened to democracy in Myanmar? What has happened to democracy in Mali? What has happened to democracy in many countries, including Ukraine and Russia? Convenience. You look at the convenience. What will bring fairness? So, 1999 election was conducted based on the principle that let us produce 2 Yorubas from Yoruba land. But we know that we are going to sponsor 1 candidate so as to replace MK Abiola's victory. That was how Obasanjo defeated Falaye. What stops you now from saying whether the Igbos like it or not? Because my brothers in Igbo land, if you tell them, go and bring one person here, bring 1 person here, they turn it into commerce. 100 persons will come out. We will impose it on them, whether you like it or not. PDP produce an Igbo man. APC produce an Igbo man.
Yes.
If you do that, this country will move forward. And there will be peace.
Okay.
And we'll still be practicing.
You still have the floor. You made mention of imposition. Again, that's exactly what the a lot of people are saying, that even the governor of Ondo State, where he said that any political party that really field candidates, northern candidates as flag bearers of the political party, will lose the election.
I am
so
not
don't you think that is an undue influence? Because they are not. It's not supposed to speak for the electorate.
Excuse me.
The electorate will decide democratically who wins the election.
I have given you the 1998-99 scenario that brought this republic. Go back and look at your history. There was no Northern who contested. It was Olufalaye versus Obasanjo.
Yes.
Even the Yoruba party, AD, refused to vote for Obasanjo. So what I'm going to say is this. While political presidential flag bearer of each party is supposed to be the internal decision making of the party. We are saying, in this case now, the North should just forget presidency for 2023 because of the mathematics. I had F9 in mathematics.
Okay.
But I've just told you that out of 62 years of Nigeria's independence, the South has governed for 60 years. So there's no issue of not even talking of contesting. Then two, we should even narrow it down and tell my people, the Yorubas, go and sit down. You have been ruling. Because Obasanjo rule, who is vice president to Buhari, is Osinbajo. From the same state, my state, Ogun State, Yoruba should go and sit down. Then we should now tell the Igbos, South has ruled. Yes. We should not tell the Northerners, you forget about presidency, then let the Igbos find their own people to rule.
Okay, I'll come back to you.
It is not an imposition.
I'll come back to you.
It is convenience.
I'll come back to you. There are a lot of factors that come into play, and basically when we look at having a right leadership, we can't throw away competence. Because the challenge we've been having in the course of moving along as a country has been not having right persons, like round pegs in round holes. Don't you think this should have been thrown open and allow it to thrive democratically? Because it seemed to show that the Southern Governors Forum are scared that if it's thrown open, there could be a possibility of having a Northern president.
Anyway, let me first of all quickly say that if you look at the narrative for over a period of time, and if you look at the present day situation in Nigeria, taking into cognizance that we are a multi-ethnic society, you will discover that I know some lawyers have argued that this is not constitutional.
Of course, we're going there.
But for me, it's not about whether it's constitutional or not. Like my co-discussants have said, it's about what is fair. Even in UK and in several other nations of the world, where you have a different constituent coming together to form a nation, there is always a point where they strike a chord in order to ensure that there is the continuity of these different parts. Because we can't rule away interest of the different ethnic group in Nigeria. Because that's the reason why I'm saying that the North in this case are not really being fair. Now, I have my own reservation about rotation. My trouble with having a Northern president and a Southern president is that over the years, when a Northern president emerges, we start viewing that person as the president for the North. But that is another, that's another side.
Trying to bring sentiment into politics.
Trying to bring sentiment to politics. But the point is, as at now, the present day Nigeria, we must be able to realize that right from, don't also forget, please, I want to quickly remind you that it was under the Sani Abacha Provisional Council that this whole idea and decision was reached. To say, in order to ensure fairness, just after the unrest that what's the name? Abiola, the annulment of June 12 generated. That was when this decision was reached. It was a Northern president, Sani Abacha, late Sani Abacha, that is popularly perceived as a dictator, that struck that chord. And for over a period of time, remember that after the tenure of Obasanjo, all the political parties feed in Northern candidates as a way to respect that chord. So we must be concerned, because for me, those that are trying to whip up sentiment for the North are people that have personal ambition that does not care about our togetherness. If you go through history, it has always been that when it gets to the position of the North, it's even more fierce. The warning and the battle is even more fierce. And more likely than not, the Southerners are more noble in respecting such deals. So when we talk about projecting a Southern candidate, it's just a way to keep us together. Because this country is going to be plugged into some kind of violent and more ethnic crisis and agitations should the Northerners insist that they must remain in power.
No,
like
you
I
can't
said
say that.
before.
You can't say that because, like I said earlier, that's your opinion.
But let me quickly say this. Yes, it's my opinion, Phil. It's my opinion, Phil. But let me quickly say this. Whether the Northerners like it or not, any political party that tries to feed a Northern candidate will have an overwhelming abandonment from the South in terms of voters.
You are very correct.
You know, sentiment.
You are very correct.
It's going to be overwhelming, just like what happened in 2015. Because the North felt it was our time.
Okay,
you know,
there are factors that could also decide this. We have the aspect of structure, like what Ebosele Okifo said, that some political parties don't have. We have the aspect of numbers, like the challenge, which I think that's why you're also speaking in this fashion, that the North could have, you know, to outweigh the South. Then you have that aspect of influence and popularity. Don't you think there should be more on popularity and influence and numbers?
Let me quickly say this. Nobody is saying it's a crime for any political party to decide to file in a Northern candidate. But what we are saying is what is fair should be fair in order for us to keep our collective interest. Then when you talk about the issue of popularity and competence, don't also forget, like for me, I have a soft spot for the Igbos, just like we had similar thought before we came on air. You know, because the truth is, if you go down right from Biafra to Tindate, you know, there have been this sentiment. The average Igbo man feels is out of the game. Is not being taken along. Now it is an opportunity for us to give them the chance. So for me personally, if you go through the South, there is a point, there are a lot of competent Igbo men for that job, for that position. There are a lot of them. You know, not to mention any names, but there are a lot of them that have even served in different cadres of government, and they have gathered all the experience that is needed to champion the cause. Maybe if we give them a chance, we'll see a new narrative. Because over the years, like I'm surprised that my father here is even saying that even the Western world have had their time. I mean, the Western region, I mean the Yorubas, they have had their time.
We have had our time.
So maybe it's time for us to check another group, for us to give the Igbo a chance.
It has been chorused, and it's a reality, and affirmed by all, and I believe also by the custodians of the law here with me, that the constitutional arrangement does not favor power rotation. Don't you think that's a setback? And what should be done? Don't you think there's something that should be done instead of going into this thought? There's something that should be done about amendment of the Constitution to absorb rotational factor.
Well, I feel that, if we have to amend the Constitution, we should amend the Constitution in such a way that the six political zone will be taken into consideration. That is, at the end of the day, you have a president coming from the east, you have from the northeast, you have from the north-south, you have from the south-south, and you have from the southwest. The six geopolitical zones should be made to produce president. That means that then, if we are now amending the Constitution, we should do a single tenure of maybe 6 years or 5 years for each of the zones. So that at the end of the day, since Buhari now, he has already had his own term, he will have 5 years. Then if he's going to the east, those in the east will have 5 years, those in the south will have 5 years, those in the southwest will have 5 years, and it rotates round. We are still coming back to one thing. That's fairness, equity.
Okay, so for now you agree that this is a setback because that may not count in 2023.
It's a setback because of those that design the Constitution. Like my learned senior has said here, Chief Ebi Tomo. People sat down and they designed Constitution to only favor their side of the country. You understand? That has been what has been happening. So that Constitution actually needs to be amended in order for there to be equity and fairness. That is why we are not making progress as a country. Because if at the end of the day, I'm not being regarded, somebody says that I'm from the north, it's our right, we are born to rule. Then others are born to follow. Those from the east, you will never smell that place. Because what happened? There's no fairness. There's no way we will now agree to contribute for the growth and development of the country if there's no fairness. You understand? If there's fairness, everybody will contribute. You know that it will get to your turn. As for the issue you were raising, that competence, whether the person is competent or not, what did Buhari bring into the position? He only came in on the matter of integrity, and we have not seen what has happened about integrity. He came in, integrity. Has he lived up to that expectation? He has not. So what are we talking about? So like the way they have good leaders in the north, that is how they also have good leaders in the east. If you give them an opportunity, we also have good leaders in the south. We also have good leaders in the southwest. So the issue, the bottom line is fairness. Yeah. When there's fairness, everything will move well.
Okay, round up from that point,
yes.
Thomas.
You see, if I can say, as a Yoruba man, from Abeokuta.
Yeah.
That we have had our own
Share.
I am being fair.
Yes.
Yes.
It's
Give me
fair.
that credit.
Yes.
It's fair.
Therefore, people should just go and sleep. I am the one talking, I'm saying my own, it's my opinion. If I said Yorubas have had their share, and I'm a Yoruba man, a Yoruba man should not even come as a vice president at all. He may become Senate president.
Yes.
If we are talking of this fairness. But let me tell you something about this constitution we are talking about. I have told you how this 1999 constitution was done by about 3 or 4 people. And the rule and the constitution itself, if you look at the preamble, which tells lies about itself, the constitution says, we Nigerians
the people.
have come together. Where did we come together to write the constitution?
So that's a pitfall.
Oh, so the constitution itself is a liar.
That's false.
Then let's go back.
That you uphold as a custodian of the law.
I have not been sworn to any position. I don't swear to that position. I don't, and I will not. Then number 2, look at the constitution. They have placed federal character.
Yeah.
In the constitution.
In the constitution.
Yes, it's not being
Why
respected.
don't you also use that federal character to allow this presidency to go to the east? We are implementing federal character in a way, in the election.
Okay, but the onus lies on political parties to do that anyway.
That is what I said earlier, that it is within the domain of each political party to feed a candidate. But if you watch the 2 political parties, the main parties now, they are playing a table tennis game, ding-dong affair with Nigerians. APC is waiting for PDP to announce where their candidate will come from. PDP is waiting for APC to announce where their candidate will come from. Because they know for sure, unlike the previous elections, many people are going to be interested for 2 major reasons. One, this administration we have in Nigeria has taught us how not to play democracy.
Yeah, of course.
So many people are going to be interested that if you like it or not, if it is a foul that the East will produce, I will vote for that foul.
But don't you think it will be too judgmental and presumptive? Because
It is not.
It's
Look,
not. We
I
don't only
understand.
have this administration.
I understand you.
We have other administrations that we have issues with.
NBC is watching.
No, that aside, no, we should be objective.
Let me-
And what the
Can I speak?
the call here is for us to be objective because
Yes, I am being objective.
if you are restricted to
We are
this
talking based on
administration,
facts, Phil. We are talking
Excuse
based on
me,
historical
excuse me.
facts. and
I
what has
told
happened.
you how in 1998, another few group of people sat down in one room and decided that the 2 candidates must come from the southwest. You have not argued that with me. And that was what happened. And Olufalaye was there, and Yorubas even refused to vote for Obasanjo because they believed that he was a stooge of the North. That was why we refused to vote for him. And I'm saying, yeah. I am older than Nigeria. Now, I am telling you that when the Civil War ended in 1970, Gowon said, no victor, no vanquished.
Yeah.
We must be honest. If you are not honest in this country, all this wahala we're having now,
Continue.
so it does not go into 2023. But if we are honest, we are fair, you will see the country develop. You can't expect me, Abayomi Thomas, to think of going to take one factory. If I have the money, I don't have it. Take it and go and put it in the North or Abuja. Am I mad? Because I will first of all go to Yoruba land. Because the system is not fair. And we are here talking about fairness. Akeredolu is from the southwest. Akeredolu will not tell you that he will go and support any Yoruba candidate that will come up now. He will not. The Yoruba governors will not support any Yoruba man that will come out now because we have had enough.
Okay, thank you.
Now,
Let's
finally on this point,
Let me.
if you look at the way the Igbos are going, in this present administration, a man who helped to form ACN, APC, CPC, that is Dr. Ogbonaya Onu, who happens to be the most senior Igbo man in today's administration. Which ministry did you give him? a very, very uneventful ministry. Yorubas are occupying beautiful Federal Ministry of Works and others, and you gave that man science and technology. Let us be honest. If we want to progress, let us say, look, in 2023, the two major political parties should feed candidates from the Southeast.
Okay, thank you.
The rest,
Thank you.
The rest can feed from anywhere.
You made a point. Round off on that.
Let me quickly say this, Phil. You see, we must realize that we're in a very dire time in our history. I mean, if you go into history and observation, you discover that part of what have triggered this ethnic agitation, both from the South and the North, has been this lack of respect for some certain agreements or certain codes, like I would like to call it, that are meant to keep and forge our unity together. Don't also forget that this current administration have also not respected the provision of federal character.
Yes, no.
Now, don't also forget, Phil, that you are not the president or the leaders of goods. You are leading a group of people that are enlightened. Nigerians have been watching. And you as a journalist, if you are going to be fair enough, if you study the mood of Nigerians, they have not really seen, the average Southerners have not seen this presidency or this government as for us. You know, it may not be correct, but that is exactly the facts on the table. So going further and saying, hey, there are a lot of misconceptions, whether right or wrong, about the present administration. There have been people that have said he's highly religious or ethnical.
But the
or
word
what
of
have you.
contention is not on the present administration.
What I'm trying to tell you is, over time, these things have formed an
opinion.
opinion. The average Southerner feels like they are being marginalized. Have you also forgotten that in 2015, it was a major Northern leader that said, we will make this country ungovernable if we don't win an election? Now that's to tell you the extent that an average Northerner can go to ensure that they are not subchanged. And that is exactly where we are. For any political party, especially the two major political parties, to field any candidate other than from the South, it's going to degenerate our current reality. And that's the point we are trying to make.
Thank you
we
very
must
much,
be fair,
Osage
equity and justice.
Big thanks, Ebi Thomas and Ebosele Okifo for that. Well, don't forget, we also said that in the course of the show, we'll allow you to pour your calls at us. We're going to be having a dedicated line, and as it appears on the screen, we'll also be voicing it out to our listeners on independent radio so that you can join. But don't forget, be civil in your presentation. That is the core. And just to remind everyone that the opinions made on this platform are the opinions of the makers and not that of independent television and radio. A big issue also happened in the course of the week, where issues concerning the medical tourism bill that was to amend the act on the medical tourism came up, and this basically was sponsored, and it wasn't new. It wasn't the first reading. It was sponsored by the federal lawmaker representing Eastern, North, and Southeast federal constituencies, Sergius Omus. And the drama that played was where the South-South APC representative, Ishaka, came up and said that he's withdrawing the secondment on that bill and challenging it that if he had known, he wouldn't have even seconded the bill in its reading because it may affect members of the National Assembly that may want to embark on a medical trip outside the country. That seems laughable, because even why he said that it sounded ridiculous before the House. What do you think of this episode? I'll come to you, but what do you think of this? Do you see this bill as making a progress to tackle this issue?
I feel that the man just suddenly woke up from his sleep, because I'm sure he was spoken to by his leader. I don't want to mention any name. Yeah, I'm sure he was spoken to by his leader, who is currently even in London for medical tourism. You understand? Now, that bill will never see the light of day. Let's not deceive ourselves. Because even the president, Buhari, while he was campaigning, he told us there will be no medical tourism if he comes in. He told us that he's going to fly normal domestic flight He's not going to have, why should we have so many planes, the presidential fleet and all that? And that he will not go anywhere. He's going to treat himself in Nigeria. And what did he do? What did he do when he now came in? Immediately he came in as president. It was not up to 3 months. He has already gone to London for medical tourism. He has gone to treat himself. And when his son was unfortunately involved in an accident, he was flown to Germany. This was a man that told us there will be no medical tourism. So there's a lot of problems that is wrong with this country called Nigeria. It's not only medical tourism. Why must, if the Minister of Health is sick now, you'll be surprised that the Minister of Health will not go to Abuja National Hospital. He will take himself out.
But nothing stops them from traveling out for medical trips. But not to our money. But the basic thing here is don't use taxpayers' money.
But they use it. You and I know that they don't use their personal money. When somebody is made a minister, Buhari is there, he doesn't use his personal money for anything. Anything he does is our money. It's our money from the Commonwealth. Okay. You understand?
Yes.
I've not landed. Yes. Because the issue is so sad. Because we feel that it's not even only medical tourism that should be stopped. You know, even educational tourism should be stopped for all government officials, all politicians that are holding positions in this country should be stopped.
Of course.
Because if their children were in our universities, were in our higher institutions, we will not continue to have this problem of them agreeing with ASU, then the next thing, they will turn around, they will not obey what they have agreed with them, then ASU will go on strike, then our brothers and sisters, our students, they will be at home doing nothing. You understand? If their children were attending our universities, that is why our medical facility also have problems, because they know that they can only get out of the country and take care of themselves.
I think we'll be taking a pause to take this call. We have a caller, please. Caller, tell us your name and where you're calling from. The number to call is 052-290-573 for our listeners on Independent Radio. 052-290-573. Good morning, caller. Hello.
Yeah, thank you very much. God bless you, sir. This is Pastor Isaac, Pastor of the world.
Pastor Isaac.
Hello, sir.
You're calling from where?
I'm talking from Taboga in Benin.
Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for the kind of people you brought to studio, the way they analyze it. What we don't know. Yeah, you and every Thomas are make us to know. Thank you very much. We now know the cause of our problem, so very soon the problem will be solved. Let them turn it to that side, which will tell us. And I see that will stop our problem. That is what I want to say. Thank you. God bless you, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you for your contribution, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Okay, Ebi Thomas, what do you have to say?
Now, that bill will not see light of day. The reason is that you people have made politics in Nigeria a cash and carry affair. Now, if you now sit down and say, let's make it this way, across the table, the president of Nigeria shall be on 10,000 salary a month, no allowance.
Yes.
A senator shall be on 8,000 a month, no allowance.
There will be anybody there.
A member of House of Reps, 5,000 amount a month, no allowance.
Making it less attractive.
You will not find anybody in Abuja.
Yes.
You won't find anybody.
But because you have made it
Juicy.
a cash and carry affair, that is why you see the primaries of every political party is
like
fought with guns. It's like a war.
Yeah. Okay, I'll pause it there. We have another caller. Good morning, caller. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Good morning. You can hear me?
We can hear you quite clear. Tell us your name, please.
This is Dr. Abaya on Friday.
Doctor.
Friday. I'm calling from Ekuma.
Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Okay. The first contribution I want to make is this. Your panelists, one of them, they said that in the north, they turn out results without voided votes. I want to say that information is very wrong. No state in the north turn out any result without voided votes. Even the one in Kano turned out about 40,000 voided votes at the time. That's number one. Then the second point again is this. Alex Ekweme contested election with Obasanjo at the time. Even his brothers, the Igbos, did not support him. And that was why Obasanjo won. So if we are saying that political parties must ensure that somebody from the East is produced, then I don't think we are creating democracy because we are trying to prevent some people from contesting. I don't think that is democracy. Then I want to ask this question now. What was the position of Nnamdi Azikiwe at that time? And then Agui Ironsi? At least those guys are from the East, and they have tested positions of ruling Nigeria before. So what is their position? So when we are calculating the people who have ruled Nigeria, and then we are not including them, I don't know what to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your contribution. You made some points there.
Let me take the issue of Azikiwe.
Yes.
Azikiwe wasn't the executive president of Nigeria.
He wasn't.
He was a ceremonial president. The president was the executive head of Nigeria, was Tafawa Balewa.
Yes.
Not Azikiwe. Azikiwe was a ceremonial
He was.
president.
Yes.
And what was the second name he mentioned? Agui Ironsi. Agui Ironsi came in and did not even last 6 months.
Within 6 months, he was
it
out.
was less than 3 months.
And he was
He
killed.
came in January 1966,
Yes.
being the most senior military
Officer
officer
there.
at that time in the coup that was led by Uzegu and others.
And within 6
And
months,
within 6 months,
he was killed.
He was killed in a revenge coup that took place on July 29, 1966.
Yes.
So we cannot say that the head of the army, who came in as the highest officer, was a ruler. No, he wasn't.
Okay, what do you have to say concerning what he also made in respect of results being turned out from the
No, my learned brother here made that comment
Yes.
that no void or voidable.
I stand by it.
And he stands by it.
I stand by it because even in the north, when they came out with results from, I think from Kano or so, it was 1 million.
If I may go
They
on,
did not
Okay, I think
declare
we have to put that on hold because
If I may go
whatever
on,
we are saying here, we must have
if I may go on with
People to
my
verify
issue
them,
on
please.
medical tourism.
All right,
I am one of the greatest victims of medical tourism. Me. Because before 2015 May, I was traveling abroad every year twice to check my heart because the facilities are not here.
But you were not using taxpayers' money.
I was, that's why I say I'm the biggest victim. I was using my private legal practice
money,
my hard-earned money, not government money. But since this administration came in May 2015, and all the companies I was working for, all vanished because of this issue of corruption, no corruption. I can no longer travel. I have not been able to travel. Then you now have people who are said to have been elected by the people of Nigeria, using Nigerian taxpayers' money
To empower another economy.
to continue to travel. I won't blame this National Assembly if they say they are withdrawing that bill, because let's start from the head.
Yes.
When there was this campaign to come in 2015, our president told Nigerians that he will not go abroad for medical treatment,
They will ban it.
that he will even ban it. But in less than 3 months, he was the first to embark on medical tourism. Our president said the planes in the presidential fleet were too many, that he will sell some of them or use them to form Nigeria Airways. Instead, he goes on medical tourism and the plane is parked in the tarmac,
Wait for
and Nigeria is paid every day from taxpayers' money.
But is it right if the bill takes the... if
Look,
it's passed,
in
is
England,
it right to include the office of the president, for instance?
everybody. In England, 3 MPs,
Yes.
3 MPs made more phone calls, more than what was statutorily allowed. The MPs were not only made to refund the money, but they were also suspended from the parliament.
Yes.
Okay, I think we take a short break, please.
We're not making this.
No. Quickly, let's take another call. Hello, good morning, caller. Hello, good morning, caller. Go ahead with your contribution, please. Tell us your name, where you're calling from.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. What's your name and where you're calling from? Quickly.
My name is Evans, calling from Benin.
Go ahead with your contribution, Evans.
I'm very happy and I greet you of the the house there. See, everybody is fed up in Nigeria. vote the foul, vote the goat, vote the hair, every God is sent up to Nigeria. We don't know that.
No, you can't say that. You can't say that. I think that's your opinion, but you should be objective in what you say. I think you should only speak for yourself. For every other person. You don't talk of people speaking for the animals.
Say they are.
Just go straight to the point, please. Go straight to the point.
This is not the road. This is not the public. Yeah, I'm looking for attention. Let's see what we read the half of that.
Thank you very much for your contribution. Now let's take a bite.
Phil, you
I
know,
already spelled out the rules.
some of the things we see in this country is like what we see.
Hold on, please. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Tell us your name, where you're calling from, quickly.
Yeah, my name is Mr. Nigeria. So what I want to contribute is, this time around, we Africans, especially Nigerians, we ought to be ashamed of ourselves.
Yes.
When the West are developing every day, inventing upon their invention, we are still talking about regional, who will bring the president, or instead of us to work on the rule of law. Who is more corrupt among the elite in our country? We have to be working on the rule of law. Anybody that goes against the law will be punished. That's what we're supposed to be bringing upon, not who will govern us. Anybody, all Nigerians are qualified to govern us. Okay, we are talking about the East, and the Easterners. Are they united? How many votes is coming?
Thank you. You made your contribution. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Yes, and Phil, let me remind you that in 2020, when Boss Mustafa, the SGF of the Federation, took over the position of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, I don't know if you remember what he said in his speech to the House, National Assembly, that he wasn't aware that our healthcare, the state of our healthcare, was in such shambles, deplorable state. That is a man that has been the secretary to this highest authority in this country. And going forward, he advocated that there should be some legislative framework in order to try to change the narrative. Then again, thank God for our own very sagacious who came up and proposed the bill. Then the subconductor suddenly stood up and said, because it will affect my colleague, I want to withdraw my secondary. I mean, sometimes I wonder the quality.
That is enough for him
to resign. To resign. That's enough for him to be called back.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder the quality of the people representing us. and for me, I think it's about time we, the citizens, begin to hold these leaders responsible. Because that's why, even though it may not be noble, when we started seeing at the time public office holders were being embarrassed in the public, I started asking myself, why not? If somebody sent to represent his people. Now, we are not even talking about this law. It's not against you using your hard-earned money, like our very respected lawyer be saying. This is against you using our own money to go out on medical tourism. Now, the point is this. If you look at the history of Nigeria health sector, you will discover that a state of emergency should be declared on the health sector.
Okay, I'll
for example,
come back to you quickly. Hello, good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Good morning, please tell us your name and where you're calling from.
My name is Dr. Open Sikri, the radio professor and NASA ambassador. I'm calling you from Benin City, Ubahim.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead with your contribution, please.
Yes, I want to also say that at this point in time, we must be thinking of how we can integrate our democracy. The National Assembly must stand up to its responsibility. And we Nigerians, we must ensure that we do not elect people who will become rubber stamps. Now, in an extent, we should be talking about rule of law. Now, we should be talking about how do we ensure security. You can discover now that most of the community, even in the state now, people have run away from their houses. Nobody saying anything. So where the president,
you can't say nobody's saying anything. The governor of the state addressed this. If you watched news yesterday, you should have seen that.
Hello?
The governor of the state addressed this issue you are raising now concerning Edo State.
Yes, the governor is responsible for
He addressed it.
insecurity
That's what I am telling you. He addressed it. So
the
please
herdsmen.
be updated, okay? I said the governor addressed this issue yesterday. So be objective. Just go straight, quickly. You have
So what
a
I'm
few
saying
seconds left.
is that we should allow the national cake to be for the citizens.
Okay, thank you.
So it should be for the citizens, and it should not be appropriated by one category of people.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Round off on your point.
Yes, and Phil, my point is this. We can really not change our narrative except some very drastic decisions are taken.
Yeah.
Because what is evil in a law that is trying to provide punishment for defaulters of the law? Because that law have actually been existing. If you listen to what Sargis was saying, but there was no penalty.
There was already an act.
There was already
There
an
were no
act to that
sanctions for
effect.
it.
No sanction.
That actually took
now,
you back.
that is the point.
I was wondering, how can you make a
there
law
was an
without
act, but no sanction. Now, that was what he was saying. Now, every right-thinking Nigerian should be able to say this is so. Because for me, I've been advocating for this. Even educationally, too. The only way the health sector and the educational sector can change, if when there be such law to say, as a public service holder, let all your children school in this country.
Yes.
As a public service holder, go to the local hospitals and take your treatment. Then you will see if there will be no change in our health sector. Today, sir, have you taken time to look at the statistics of the mass exodus of medical practitioners out of this country? Have you checked the fact that it was Brigade that said the last time was in Nigeria? Childbirth, which is a walkover in medicine, that other nations, medicine have already advanced above that, is still an issue in Nigeria today. Childbirth, I mean maternal mortality rate. Have you looked at the issue of malnourished children, when it said about 2 or 3 out of every 5 Nigerians are malnourished? Now the point is, the state of our health is at a very pitiable position, and we have people that have been elected to speak for us
Thank you for your
and
point.
take
Thank you for your point.
decisions that can change the narrative.
Thank you, thank you. I think you just raised an issue which I was going to, and I think I will give the legal practitioners 1 minute each to round off on that. Now we have an act,
There was no sanction.
you know, that is being amended, but when it was an act, as in at the time it was initiated as an act, is it not a wrong thing to do? Because initiating it as an act and not having sanctions for offenders, is that the way it should be done?
No, there should always be sanctions.
Okay.
You know, because our laws are written. So if there's, if you state the law, the sanctions that will follow, the penalty for those that go against the law will always be there. So if it was not stated, there is a mistake.
Okay.
Now, 2 of our callers mentioned the issue of the rule of law. Unfortunately, I want to say that Nigerians, like one of the callers said, that they are tired of the present administration. Now, Nigerians should put their thinking cap together and vote the proper persons in 2023, because it's so unfortunate. Because we are talking about the rule of law. This administration, unfortunately, does not even believe the rule of law. If they believe the rule of law, the federal character, I see the constitution, they would have obeyed it.
Okay, thank you. You made a point.
Now, we are talking about the rule of law. There are some communities here in Edo State that have been taken over by herdsmen. Now, you said the government made a pronouncement on that. I think that you should go further than that. Now, my issue is that we have army barracks in Benin here. We have at Kema Road. We have at Uselu. We even have at Nikoho in Auchi. What are they doing?
Okay,
why will you not allow herdsmen to take over communities?
Give time to other
What are the military? What are the military doing in the barracks?
AP Thomas, you have 1 minute
It's
to wrap up
unfortunate.
that. You have 1 minute. It's taken.
I think it is wrong to criminalize an act without a penalty.
Okay.
Yes.
It is wrong. But that tells you the kind of people that make laws for you in Nigeria, that they make laws for their own benefit. Otherwise, the man who withdrew his secondment of the punishment and saying that it will affect members of the National Assembly, that man ought to resign from National Assembly, or his people should recall him
back.
Thank you. Thank you. You made your point. Thank you. Okay, in less than a minute, please.
Let me quickly say this to the average Nigerians. We must begin to hold leadership accountable. We must get involved in the polity. Because I believe that if you choose to do nothing, you're as guilty as those who are destroying the system.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Osage Gosen. Big thanks, Ebi Thomas, and big thanks, Bosele Okifo, for taking our time. There's the much we can take on this discussion. Don't forget, we'll go on the next one next week and ensure that you join us again. On behalf of the entire production team that made this edition a success, I'm Philip Omo Gupo, and I'm saying goodbye.